I'm here with Anthony Brower of Gensler in LA, the Global Climate Action and Sustainability Director. Anthony, welcome to New Zealand. Great to finally have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to finally get down here.
I had a few questions that I thought would be relevant to us here in New Zealand and probably around the world. And the first thing, I suppose, is as a snapshot, when you think of the top 5 things when you think of sustainability, what are the first things that come into your mind as that expert?
Well, it all depends on what perspective you're coming at it from. From a designer's perspective, we want to encourage and reward good decisions. We want to start talking about that sustainability discussion as early as possible in the design process. Because when you start talking about it that early in the process, at that first blush, I want it during the napkin sketch, the issues of cost tend to go out the window. We're just making good decisions. I've got students that are constantly asking me, what should I be doing when my professor tells me, hey, don't worry about sustainability, just worry about your program. I'm like, well, then just don't think about it like sustainability. Just think about them as if it's just good design. And that's how we kind of need to pivot. Like for the last 20 years at Gensler, I've been trying to design myself out of a job to the point where I'm not needed anymore. Once nobody needs to come to me and ask me what to do about sustainability is going to be a good day for everybody.
Do you think that it's a natural thing for now with all of the talk about it and the media and around the world, governments across the globe? Is it a normalised thing now for your clients to come to you expecting that that's going to be a part of your design?
Our clients have always come to us, but I've definitely seen an uptick. I've seen a groundswell over the last 5 to 10 years on how much they want to focus in on it. Now it's becoming very much part of their brand and very much part of their ethos. So it's becoming an expectation.
And where do you, as a designer, see the responsibility of actioning these climate design changes? From a manufacturing perspective, obviously there's some responsibility there, but from a design perspective, there's some responsibility there as well. Where do you see that balance?
It turns into communication. Again, from the designer side, we want to encourage good decisions. We want to understand the impacts of all the choices we're making. We want to specify the right materials. We want to reduce the embodied carbon of the decisions, or just understand what the embodied carbon is of the decisions we're making when we're selecting materials or we're talking about operational energy consumption. When we get into conversations with a manufacturer, we're looking for transparency and we're looking for authenticity. We want to know where the products are being manufactured. Are they being manufactured in a responsible way? And we're not interested in what's going on. Like, hey, look at this is this great thing, and it's the same thing we've been doing for years. We really want to get into that authenticity. Just be honest about what the product is, and let's see if we can kind of make better decisions.
How do you think the best way to manage existing infrastructure, which is most probably typically not green, versus new developments which are green? How do you offset the two of them when you're working with an existing architectural piece that you're trying to develop?
Well, some of the most sustainable buildings are going to be the ones that are already built. We talk about reusing a building. We're doing a lot of talking right now about embodied carbon. That's the one metric everything kind of boils down to. And you can reduce the embodied carbon that it takes to build a new building just by starting with an existing building first. I'm going to retain that concrete floor slab. I'm going to retain that structural system. I may even retain the curtain wall assembly. Retaining and reusing some of those parts and pieces. We talk about recycling. Well, buildings are just as important to recycle as it is products and things that we kind of carry around in our daily lives.
If you look at it from around the world, obviously you've got buildings from Gensler around the globe. Where do you see, or which city or country do you see as being the most sustainable country in terms of the design ethos?
They all have a different focus. So I would say some of the much more stringent codes and forward-thinking ideas is actually coming out of the EU region, but there's a lot of really advanced codes in the US, particularly in California on the West Coast, where we're really kind of getting into sustainability as prescriptive measures.
So are you saying that in the USA that there is actually a mandate that says that you must design to a particular climate sustainability code?
There's several codes. Codes in the US are controlled by, they're kind of governed by municipalities, one at the state level, and then you kind of dive down into the individual municipalities, cities, towns, villages, for lack of a better way to describe it. Each one has their own, and it's not necessarily sustainability, it's more performance-driven requirements. What's the maximum allowable lighting density I can have in either a retail space versus an office space? What's the energy performance of an office building versus a sports stadium versus a retail store? They all have different demand loads. Even you think about data centers are large energy consumers, but because of that larger demand, there's the expectation that the systems that are going to run those buildings are going to be much more efficient. So there's that balance, and it's different in different areas.
Thanks, Anthony. Really amazing to have you here in New Zealand. I know that it's been a long time coming for us. Obviously, we've been speaking since 2018, and I'm really, really excited to finally have you here tonight and listen to your presentation. And I know that the architectural community here are thrilled to have you here as well. So thanks so much for coming over.
Thanks for having me.